Good morning, everyone. What is the meaning of the word Jew? When we speak about being a Jew, what does the word Jew mean? The word Jew in Hebrew has the meaning of to be thankful. The word Jew, to be a Jew, means someone who is thankful. And that's why the very first words that a Jew says in the morning when they wake up is Modeh ani lefanecha. We say, I am thankful to you, God, that you allowed me to wake up today and to be alive. That's the very first thing we do. We thank God for being alive, for having a new day. I wanted to speak today about this topic of being thankful, of gratitude. So I want to tell a story about a rabbi who met an old man. And he was very impressed that this old man seemed to be full of joy and full of light. And the old man told the rabbi, Rabbi, I want you to know I wasn't always like this. For most of my life, I lived in a very dark world. I was never happy. And the rabbi asked him, what happened? Why did you change? And he said to the rabbi, listen, I was a very negative person. I was always focused on what was wrong with everything. Anything that happened, I saw the negative. I saw what was wrong. Whatever I had was never enough. I always blamed other people. Nothing was ever perfect enough for me. I was always complaining and always thinking negative thoughts. Then one day, I was in a very bad car accident. A very serious car accident. I was told that I might not live. And I thought about my entire life, and I realized that I had wasted so much of my life because I wasn't grateful for what I had. I was ungrateful to the people who did the most for me. So I decided that if God would give me a chance and allow me to live, I would work on being a more grateful person. I would try to really appreciate everything that God gives me. I would appreciate anything that anyone would do for me in my life now and anything that people would do for me in the future. After making this decision, he said, I immediately felt better. Better than I had ever felt in a very long time. And he told the rabbi, even though I was still in a tremendous amount of pain, I was suffering in that hospital, and I still didn't even know if I would live. That's how bad I was hurt. I told myself I wasn't going to make the same mistake I had been making my entire life. I didn't say to myself that I would only become a grateful person if I would recover, if I would get better. I decided with all of my heart to be a totally grateful person from that moment on. He told the rabbi that the recovery period, getting better, took a very long time. But I felt grateful for every step of my improvement. He told the rabbi I always needed other people to help me. I couldn't do many things. My whole body was messed up. And I was grateful for even the smallest thing that people would do for me. My entire life became filled with gratitude. People told me now they enjoyed being with me. I made them feel good because I was a person that had joy and happiness. And so people were now happy to do things for me. He told the rabbi, I am very thankful to God for waking me up and helping me come to this realization. And the rabbi said this was the happiest person he ever met in his life. There was a wise man that once said, when you stop expecting things in life, when you trade your expectation for appreciation and for gratitude, your world changes instantly. The moment that you decide, I'm not going through life expecting things, I'm going to go through life just being thankful to whatever is going on, your life will change immediately. There have been a lot of studies, doctors and scientists have studied the happiness of people in the world today. Many studies. And they've shown that people that are thankful and people that are grateful, if they live that way, they will be much happier people. The more we focus on the blessings that we have and appreciating them, the more we will begin to realize that we had many, many more blessings we were never aware of. Once we begin to try to see that what we have is wonderful, rather than trying to criticize what we have or be sad about what we have, once our attitude changes, we'll begin to see how many more blessings we really had all along. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. You begin to see more. Once you are a grateful person, you begin to see more in life. With gratitude, being a person that's like this, we don't take other people for granted. This often happens in life. We take our friends for granted, our parents for granted, our neighbors for granted. It's not nice, it doesn't feel good when you are taken for granted. So a person that's grateful, a person that's thankful, doesn't take people for granted. And that leads to better relationships. Studies have also shown, by the way, that people that are thankful, people that are grateful, they have better health. They can sleep better. But the greatest benefit of gratitude is that it brings us closer to God. It brings us closer to Hashem. There's a wonderful story I want to tell you about a water carrier who lived many years ago. And he had two pots that he would put on a long pole. And he would put one pot on each end of this pole and balance the pole across his shoulders. And that's how he would carry the pots. And each day he would leave his house with the empty pots hanging from the ends of this long pole, and he walked down to the stream of water not very far from his house. When he got there, he would take off the two pots, and he would fill them with water, and he would put them back onto the pole, and he would balance the pole across his shoulders, and he would walk back home. But there was a problem. One of the pots had a crack in it. It had a crack in the pot. And when he arrived back home, about half of the water had leaked out. But the man kept doing this every day of the week, week after week, month after month, year after year. For many years, this man did this to bring water home. But the pot that was cracked felt very bad. It felt terrible. It felt ashamed. It felt guilty that the man was walking home and he wasn't able to carry a full load of water. So one day, after this was going on for many years, the cracked pot decided to speak up. And he said to the man, "Excuse me." And the man said, "What do you want to say?" And the pot said, "I have to tell you, I'm very, very sorry. And I want to apologize and beg for your forgiveness." So the man said, "Why? What are you so sorry about?" And the pot said, "Well, over the years I have helped you, but I've never been able to deliver a full load of water for you. You work so hard, but you're never able to bring home a full amount of water. And it's all because of me and my crack." And the man felt sorry for this pot. And he said to the pot, "It's okay. It's really okay. Actually, the next time we go to collect water, I want you to look over on your side of the path. Look over on your side of the road." So the next day, the man took the two empty pots, put them on the long pole over his shoulders, and headed down to the stream. He filled the pots with water, and he headed back home. Now, instead of worrying about its crack and about the water leaking out, the pot did what the man told it to do. The pot looked over to the side of the road. And what did it see? It saw something amazing. It saw that on the side of the road there were fields of beautiful, beautiful flowers. And the man said to the pot, "Do you see those beautiful flowers? Did you notice that those beautiful flowers were only on your side of the path? Did you notice that? They weren't on both sides of the path. The man said to the pot, because I knew that you had a crack, and I knew that you leaked water, so I planted seeds on your side of the path many years ago. And that way, every day, you were watering those seeds. And it's thanks to you that we have these beautiful flowers growing on the path. And these flowers brighten my day. They make me very happy. And they bring a tremendous amount of beauty to the world. So I need to thank you. Thank you for being a cracked pot. I want to conclude today with one final story. Obviously, the story I just told is not a true story. It's a story. But I want to conclude today with a real story that happened. An amazing story. And it took place not too long ago in Jerusalem. There was a woman living and one day a rat jumped out of a box in her yard. She had a box where she kept the vegetable peels and the fruits and the garbage that came out of her kitchen. And out of this box jumped a rat. So she decided she doesn't want to have this box anymore, and she gave it away to other people. A few days later, she was in her apartment, and she noticed on the kitchen floor was an apple that was partially eaten. Just laying on the floor there, an apple that had been bitten, bites taken out of this apple. And then she saw what looked like signs that there had been a small animal in the apartment. So she called an exterminator, someone who was able to basically get rid of pests, get rid of rats or mice. And the exterminator said, yes, you have a rat. That's what you have in your house. You have a rat. So he set up 3 traps. He put out 3 traps to try to catch the rat. But these traps didn't catch anything. They couldn't catch the rat. Then they found, a week or so later, another apple that had been partially eaten. So they called the exterminator again, and he put up new traps, and the next morning they checked, and they didn't catch any rats in these traps. They decided to wait another day, and the next day they found that the kitchen floor was flooded with water. There was water all over the kitchen floor. What happened? The rat had chewed a little hole into the tube that went into the water filter. Under the refrigerator. And because it chewed a hole into this tube, water leaked out all over the floor. So they called the exterminator again, and the exterminator was very, very confused. He had been catching rats for 27 years. He was really good at catching rats. Because his traps had bait, chocolate bait, special bait made out of chocolate that the rats loved. And he would always catch them. And these traps never failed. So what did he do? He sprayed a rat repellent. They have special sprays that the rats do not like. And he sprayed it in parts of the kitchen to help force the rats to go in the direction of the traps. He tried that. And they waited again a few days, and again they didn't catch anything. So what did they do next? They tried putting grease on the drain pipe so that the rat would fall off if the rat tried crawling up the drain pipe. 2 hours later, they heard one of the traps spring. They heard it sounded like one of the traps finally caught something. And when this woman's husband came home, he checked the trap, but there was no rat in it. It looked like the rat moved the trap, and it set it off, but then the rat ran off to another part of the house. So they left out an apple just to see if the rat was still around. And the next morning, what did they find? That the rat had eaten part of the apple again. So now they called the exterminator again. And they asked him, they didn't feel good about this. They didn't feel good, but they said, you know what? Maybe you have to bring some poison. Trapping the rat doesn't seem to work. Maybe we're going to have to kill the rat. So maybe you should bring some poison. And they saw that the rat had found a home under the sink counter. So they put several packets of poison near the hole where the rat would go in and out. Plus 2 traps near the hole. So they now had poison and they had traps. And they put special poison, really fast-acting poison, on an apple that they left near the hole. Now they figured this rat is finished. But the next morning, they still did not catch or kill the rat. And now this woman figured out, this must not be a special rat. I mean, this must be a special rat. This can't be an ordinary rat. And she figured out that this rat must be a Gilgul. This rat must be some human being who came back to life in the form of a rat. Reincarnated as a rat. This must be a person. It can't be a normal rat. Because who else could outsmart 3 adults, including a professional exterminator, for such a long time? It's not possible this is a regular rat. So they decided to go to a big rabbi, a very, very wise rabbi, to ask him what kind of a tikkun, what kind of a repair does this rat need? Meaning, if the rat came back, it was really a human being that came back in the form of a rat, it must be that it came back because it has to repair something, it has to fix something about itself. And so the woman asked the rabbi, what does this poor rat need to improve itself? So the rabbi told the woman, this rat does not need a tikkun. The rat does not need anything to repair it. You need the tikkun. You need to fix something about yourself. The rat doesn't have the problem. You have the problem. And she was shocked because she was a woman who tried to be a good person. So she said, well, what's wrong? And he said, there is a book, a famous book. It goes back maybe 2,000 or 3,000 years. And in this book, they have many, many things that God created. And it tells you in this little book the song that everything sings. Everything in the world, the sun, the trees, elephants, rats, each thing has a song that it sings. And we find that song in our Torah. Usually in the book of Tehillim, in the poems that David wrote. So the rabbi told this woman, let's see what the song of the rat is. Let's see what the song of the rat is. And the song of the rat turns out to be the very last verse, the very last pasuk in the book of Tehillim, of David's Psalms, which says, Kol haneshama tahalel Yah. Every soul, every person should be thankful to God. That's the song of the rat. Every soul should be thankful to God. And the rabbi told the woman, what this verse means is that we each, every person receives tremendous blessings from God all the time. And we have to be very thankful for all the blessings that we get. At least we should thank Him every day for the breath that we can take. We can breathe. At least we have that. Person can breathe. Thank you, God, I'm able to breathe. So the rabbi told this woman, you know what you need to fix? You need to stop complaining. That's what he told this woman. You need to stop complaining. Now, this woman did not see herself as someone who complained a lot or kvetched. She didn't see herself like this. And she had a hard time understanding what this rabbi meant. What could he mean? So that night, she removed the poison from the house, and she removed the traps from the house. And all she did was to leave one apple that had some poison on it. But in the morning, this apple was not touched. That morning, she went with her 9-year-old son to school. She walked her son to school. But he didn't want to go, and he was schlepping. He was giving her a hard time. He wasn't walking nicely. She had to drag him. It wasn't hard for her to walk him to school that day. And when her husband came home, after he davened in the morning, after davening in the morning, she was about to tell her husband the frustrating time she had taking their son to school that day. But then the rabbi's words came back to her. And she realized she was about to start complaining. So instead of telling her husband what a difficult time she had walking her son to school that day, she turned her frown into a smile, and she gave her husband a very enthusiastic, "Good morning. Isn't it great to be alive?" 5 minutes later, they found the rat dead behind the refrigerator. Now, this woman never saw herself as a complainer. She just saw herself as reporting. I'm just telling my husband what happened. I'm not complaining. And she had a lot of difficulties. She had difficulties with her kids sometimes. She had difficulties finding a parking spot for her car. She had a difficult time with appliances in the house. Sometimes this would break, and sometimes that would break. And why did she tell her husband or her friends about those difficulties? Because a person, they can look good if they can show how they're able to cope with all these difficulties. The husband now sees, look how many troubles she has. And yet she's able to get our children to school, and she's able to do the laundry, and she's able to cook, and she's able to do so many things, even though there are so many difficulties. So maybe deep down inside, she's reporting about all these problems that she has, so people will think of her as a really, really amazing person. And she realized that that's what she tended to do. She didn't think she was complaining. She just thought she was letting people know things happening in her life. But she now came to realize she was doing that because she wanted people to think of her as being a very clever person, as being a very good person, a very competent person. And that they would appreciate her even more. So now, instead of grumbling and complaining about how much laundry she had to fold, she focuses on the fact that she has clean clothing. And instead of complaining about the broken telephone in the kitchen, she's grateful that they have a telephone that works in the bedroom. And she found that, again, by simply changing her perspective, instead of looking for the negative, looking for the positive, it was like turning on a light, and it completely changed her life for the better, and the life of her entire family. So we should all have the ability to do this simple thing, to begin, instead of looking at the negative things in our life and complaining, just to look and appreciate what we have and being thankful for what we have. It will make each of our lives wonderful and special. Everyone should have a great day, and everyone should think about what it means to be a Jew. To be a Jew means to be thankful